and I decided to get rid of my guys completely.
One, two, three, go. All right. We're here. We made it. How are you doing there, Todd? Well, how's
Doing
life?
Good.
Yeah.
Life's good.
How was your long weekend?
Pretty good. I was in Charlotte for a weekend. I'd never been.
North Carolina?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I went there with a friend and his wife, actually. Another friend of mine ended up not being able to go because he does not have a real ID. He also does not have a passport. He also does not know where his social security card is.
What? Is he living under a rock?
Pretty much, yeah.
And he must be single.
He's single, yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Shocker. And his birth certificate is written in Polish, so it doesn't read the same as his license does. So I told him, I was like, dude, call the airline, because I don't know. You can't even prove that you're a United States citizen, let alone like get on a freaking airplane.
Right.
So sure enough, he called them and they talked to TSA or FAA or whatever, and they said, you're not getting on an airplane. Like there's just, if you don't at least have social security card or, birth certificate that matches your ID, or is it like, you're not getting on. So I ended up going with my friend and his wife. Nice little town. I'd never been to Charlotte. I know it's kind of one of those faster growing cities, and I didn't get to spend quite as much time there as I'd like to, because it's kind of like a couple hours. They say it's like 2 hours, 2.5 hours you can get to the ocean, and like an hour and a half you can get to the mountains. And then you still have all those amenities of city life, still all 4 seasons, but not as drastic temperature changes and stuff as Chicago gets. So yeah, just went and checked it out for a weekend. It was nice. Got some good barbecue. Hung out downtown for a while, and it was cool. Took a couple nice tours in a museum, So yeah. It was fun. Yeah.
Never been to North Carolina, or yeah, never been. I know you've been over the East Coast quite a bit.
Yeah, I like the Carolinas. I'm not a big Florida person, but I do like the Carolinas. Yeah. So, yeah. How about you? Good weekend, or?
Yeah, it was a good weekend. It was a chill, quiet weekend. We did go on a hike one of the days for the weekend and get out there. It was really nice. Just the green, mossy trees and everything. It's just cool to kind of get lost in the woods for a while.
Absolutely.
It was fun. It was relaxing. It was nice. Yeah.
Good. Take the dog on the hike?
Of course. Yeah.
Better.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's probably 60% of why we're on the hike to begin with, is because of the dog, right?
Nice.
Dogs have a tendency of getting you out and about, right?
That they do.
Yeah.
That they do.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. You ready to kick this off?
Let's do it.
All right. Here we go again. Another week of the Renovation Situation podcast, where we pull back the layers of this complex remodeling industry. So grab your beverage of choice, because I think we're in for a long haul of listening to Todd's feelings today. Let's do this. What are we talking about today?
Sometimes I just feel like we're not gonna listen to my feelings. Some of them might come out, but this is something that's super common in our industry, and we have talked about it both on the show, and we've talked about it God knows how many times, over the years that we've known each other. And that's just the idea of employees versus subcontractors, or some balance of both, whatever that looks like. And I mean, there are contractors that have been doing this for decades that still go back and forth with that. And I've been doing this for myself for 14 years now. And when I started out, it was just me, and, similar to yourself. And you just find good guys to work with, whether that be a specified trade or just someone else who's capable of just helping you in whatever capacity you may need, general labor or someone who's more skilled or whatever it might be. But I always had in mind the idea that I wanted to have employees. And I started hiring employees about 4 years ago or so, I think. Yeah, probably about 4 years ago. And it's an experience. It's a struggle for sure. It's a very different way of running your business when you're trying to keep someone else or multiple people busy all the time, just scheduling those guys 40 hours a week, keeping enough work for them, keeping track of payroll, and just all kinds of things that go into that. It's a whole different way of running your business than you're used to. And I've been doing that with, I'd say with moderate success. Happy employees. I had to fire a couple of guys over the years. But overall, I liked that system. And more recently, I kind of pulled a 180 on that. And I decided to get rid of my guys completely. So I did that. I let them know. I kind of did the opposite. I gave them a couple weeks notice and just said, any vacation time you have coming to you, obviously you'll get paid for that. As of September, I think I told them September 5th, which should actually be this Friday, but they're both already gone at this point. I said, I can keep you on until September 5th. And, if you just want the hours or while you're looking for another job or whatever it might be. Both of them had a little bit of vacation time built up. So they obviously just took that vacation time and are no longer with me. So series of events that led up to that decision. And we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, it's a very different scenario for me right now.
Wow. So just to recap, you were working for yourself. You did not have employees. Then about 4 or 5 years ago, you decided that you were going to bring on some more help and actually hire employees. And that was 4 or 5 years ago. And it worked out good, not so good, some
Pros
ups
and
and
cons.
downs. And now we're here today saying, nope, we're going back to no employees. You're going to run that way again. Was there any pivotal moment in the 4 years that you've had employees that you were like, okay, no, absolutely not. This is the reason why we can't have employees? Or was it a series of like a bunch of little things that added up and you're finally at the point where it's the straw that broke the camel's back?
It's the latter, I think. It was cumulative. It was just a series of events and a lot of just small things. And it's not like somebody was stealing from me, at least not intentionally. They fib their hours a little bit sometimes, but nothing awful. No one tried to steal clients or, tools or materials off a job site. So it was never anything awful. No one ever had any bad blood or anything or tried to get away with something they shouldn't. It was a series of just small things. And some of that was just guys not being on time, and it was constantly being late. And I'm talking like 20, 25, 30 minutes late, but constantly. And it's like, if you're constantly that late, wake up earlier. It's not that difficult. Clearly your morning routine is what it is, and you're not capable of getting to work by 8 o'clock. So if your alarm is set for 6:45, set it for 6:15. That's all you have to do. It's not hard. But as an example, there's that. Another one was quality of work, where it's like that's your name. I've built this business over how many years, and when you specialize in finish work, cabinet installs, replacing doors, crown moldings, wainscoting, all that kind of stuff. When you're specializing in that, and you are leaving someone alone, unsupervised, and you expect them to do a certain level, a certain quality of work, and they don't do that certain level, that certain quality of work, of course, I'm now getting this phone call or email or a bunch of pictures via text message. And now I'm going back there, redoing this, spending hours, and possibly showing that person how to do this or whatever it might be. Or again, showing them how to do this because I know I didn't show them how to do that the first time. In that way, at least, I showed them how to do it properly. So I think
it's interesting that you bring up the quality of work, because I've heard so many times before from other contractors of that's the reason why they do hire employees, was because that they felt that they can control the quality of work versus having to hire subcontractors and then not being able to control their quality of work. And you're saying the opposite. You're saying that I'm having a hard time getting the quality of work out of my own employees.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, well, I guess, and that leads to the conversation you could have about just properly vetting your subs, right? I mean, if you're hiring subs their name is on the line. Their integrity is on the line. They're hopefully providing you with a solid quote that they're standing behind. So you're not going to pay them if they don't do the job the way you wanted it done. If there's customer complaint,
and then an
you're not going
argument
to pay them until it's done properly.
Yeah, you have some leverage, which is in form of money. But in theory, as a general contractor and in my practice, what makes me so good is my network and relationships with those subs. I know the quality of work that I can provide because I can get consistent quality of work from my subcontractors. But that's time spent weeding out the ones that aren't, and that's hard, that's tough. And then we keep saying subcontractor trade partners they're good until they're not, and they have the same kind of problems that you probably are dealing with labor and trying to get the quality of labor out of their employees. So they're the ones that are having that struggle as well. I wonder, yeah, and I mean, it's just recognizing that that's the industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you felt like you weren't getting the quality of work that you needed or wanted out of your employees, do you feel as though is it a training issue, right? Where did you not train well enough or correctly or enough in general? Is it just like they didn't have the aptitude for it? So, we have the wrong people in the seats on the bus, right? Like maybe they shouldn't even be on the bus, right? So it's a hiring issue. Do you feel like it was possibly any of those items, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of everything. So I think I like to think, and I don't think I'm wrong, that I'm pretty long on patience most of the time. I think I have a lot of patience for someone who I know is trying to learn the trade and like truly trying to learn the trade and do a good job and do as best they can. There was a couple of things that came up recently that I can just look at that and say, like, there's no way that was the best you could have done this work. There's just no way. And just you thought it was acceptable. You thought it was good enough for government work, kind of thing. That I'm not okay with. If you told me for whatever reason, I'm really struggling with this, I can't get this to finish the way I want it to, whatever it is, I say a pre-hung door, for instance, I can't get this door to sit right. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Cool. I have no issue with that. Call me, let me know. I'd be happy to come out there and walk you through it. Okay, find what the problem is, show you what you're doing wrong. I have all the patience in the world for that. But when you try and just leave it and then say, well, the jam was screwed up. It was the jam. It was the factory that screwed it up. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Because I took the door out and I rehung it in an hour and it was fine. So it was not. So that I'm not okay with. Like, don't try and pass the blame. Own it. And we can get past it. But again, and that's a fair point. Like you said, any subs you have, they're going to have to, however they're getting their employees, whether it's someone who's already qualified or if they're teaching and have some sort of apprenticeship program, but make that their problem. Make that their problem, Yeah. And then, like I said, you have recourse there. If this is done wrong, I'm not paying you. If my plumber comes in and there's a pipe leaking, I'm not paying you. And if that causes some sort of damage throughout the rest of the house, you're paying for that damage to be repaired, not me. But if it's my guys that do it, I'm paying for that damage. And then I'm still paying them their hourly wage, even though they did this wrong and could cost me more money. So, yeah, I think I got very sick of the babysitting. I got very sick of just having to either get called to a project because of a client was asking too many questions or suspect of something or something just didn't look right. And then just guys being late and unsure of what to do next. I mean, I had both my guys on a small project recently and I gave them a explicit scope of work, just bullet pointed scope of work as I would give any subcontractor. And they did half of the things on that scope of work and then texted me a picture of where they were at and then said, what's next? And I was like, what do you mean, what's next? Like, read the paper that I gave both of you guys. And if both of you guys together cannot complete that and you're representing my company, we have a serious issue. Like, we have a serious problem. And it wasn't rocket science what they were doing. It was really pretty straightforward. So just kind of like, I don't even think you need an experience in this business to do what I'm asking you to do. And they both just like, what's next? And I was like, are you freaking joking? Same kind of thing. Now what? I have to get on the phone and walk you through how to do something, or I have to go to the project and walk you through how to do something because you're stuck. And it just felt like I was just wasting time and then having to do things on my own or fix things on my own or whatever. And I'm just thinking like, my God, this is just costing me money. Like, you guys are supposed to be making the company money and then I can gladly pay you more. But when you're costing me money, this doesn't benefit anything. So,
right. And they're constantly asking for more money or expecting it. Yeah.
Always asking for more money.
Yeah.
Always asking for, one of the guys asked me I just gave him a raise in March. I gave him a $3 an hour raise in March. And he asked me for a $3 an hour raise in June. And I was like, what do you think? I give you a $3 raise every 3 months? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. I'm like, yeah. So he tried to spin it on me and say like, you have me at your best client's house. I've been at their house all the time. That's your most important client. And I was like, who told you that that's my most important client? He goes, they own so-and-so company. They're huge, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't want to say who it is in case it gets out. But I was like, what? And what makes you think because they own a big company that that's my most important client? My most important client is the one who is giving me like carte blanche. You do what you need to do. You tell us how this project should go. And we're going to give you a blank check. That's my most important client. I don't have one of those currently, but that's my most important client.
Uh-huh.
And that just kind of like, and this is, again, so when you factor in all these things, it's like you want more money when you're not even worth what I'm paying you right now.
Yeah. So what about like we're talking about, the general problems and issues with the actual employee on the job site, things of that nature. But what I want to talk about a little bit on the stress, just the overall stress that employees, just having employees are brought onto the owner, right?
Yeah.
And just to give you an example, because I want to hear your opinion on it, is, when you are working for yourself, it's just you. But then once you bring on an employee, there's this added burden or stress that you feel because now you're the one that's helping provide food on their family's tables or paying their bill or whatever. And like you want to keep that employee. So you want to make sure that you have work for them and you want to keep them going. You want to keep them growing and learning. And so there's all this added pressure for you to provide for your employees now. And that was the biggest struggle for me and why I don't do employees anymore. But that was the biggest struggle for me, was that added pressure of what it feels like to have that. And I just was interested to hear your take on it.
Yeah.
And did that have any bearing on or weight on your decision?
Yes, absolutely. And that's a really good question. So absolutely had a lot of weight on my decision. In this business, we always talk about it ebbs and flows, right? There's feast or famine kind of thing. You're swamped for a couple months, and then it's like, oh shit, am I going to have any work in the next couple months? When you have, to your point, when you're trying to keep a couple guys busy 40 hours a week, you're stressed out in a number of different ways. I mean, one, you're just making that payroll every 2 weeks. I was paying them every other week. So first and foremost, you're just making that payroll, both financially as well as setting aside the time to actually do payroll, unless you're farming that out to somebody else. But I was doing that myself as well. So it's like, okay, they're getting paid Wednesday. I got to make sure Monday after work or Tuesday morning, I'm sitting there writing paychecks and going over their timesheets, and that takes time. The other thing, which was a really big part of my decision making, was in an effort to keep them busy, you start to take projects that you don't want. And I took quite a few projects that if it was just me, I would have politely declined and just said, I'm sorry, whatever it might be. I'm booked right now, or I'm just not interested in the project, or it's not really what I do, or I don't work in your area, whatever it might be. I mean, as an example, you and I had talked about never doing decks again, right? And I took just a porch. It wasn't building a whole deck, but it was replacing all the deck boards with composite. And this was in an area that's from my house is a good 45-minute drive one way, but it was very close to one of the guys that worked for me. I said, you know what? He can handle it. So I'll just kind of leave him there for a week and a half and let him do that project on his own. And he needed help. And there was a couple little issues that came up. So now I'm driving an hour to get there, middle of the day, walking through with him just to get back in the truck after a half an hour of being there and drive an hour back. So now I spent 2.5 hours of my time just to be there for a half an hour to walk through something or help him carry something, whatever it might be. So you get into those, number one, the projects that you just don't want for a number of reasons. It's not your bread and butter. Maybe it's not financially, maybe not the best project for you. Razor thin profit margin, if any, and just location. So, I started spreading myself too thin, where at some point this summer I had one project in Winnetka, one project in Elmhurst, and one project in South Barrington. All three of those projects are an hour away from each other. They're not even close to each other. So if you had to hit 3 of those projects in a day, you're spending half of your day just driving. So that contributed a lot to my own stress, just sitting in traffic, having to deal with that, having to, keep those guys busy. Not fun. Definitely not fun. So yeah, that was a huge, huge part of my decision. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I concur with all of that. It's nice to see you coming back over to the dark side. Hopefully it all works out.
Right. Yeah.
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 Employees versus trade partners.
Yeah. Well, and it's overhead like any business, right? So if you're paying a workers' comp and you're paying all this extra stuff for these guys and keeping them busy, and as opposed to operating off of just fixed costs of subs,
there's a lot of hidden costs, right? That a lot of hidden costs that I think if you've never had employees and you're not like, if you're not like an accountant, or you don't understand all the taxes, right? That implications of bringing on employees and all that. There's a lot of complications and extra hidden costs that come along with that.
I think we covered everything on my notes. I think it's just the biggest thing for me when I was back in the day when I wanted employees, it was the idea of like control. It was just the idea of having like, if you're running a couple bigger projects, having someone there for whatever that might be, just to get a delivery from the cabinet company and go through all those cabinets to make sure there's no damage, or someone to go cover the floors after they got refinished, or someone, just to have someone there all the time. Or sometimes you just need that extra set of hands. And I think ultimately, that we've talked about this before too, just the longer you do this, the more experience you get. And it's, being able to sell yourself at a certain price, which is not easy to do when you're younger and you're making a name for yourself and everything else. But when you have the experience and you have the expertise and you've been doing this for a long time, and you can get your worth, you're not wanting to run 4 projects at a time to try and make enough money, or to try and build you think you're building your business, and you might not be building the best reputation for yourself by doing that. But if you're on top of your scheduling and you're all those little details, all those little intricacies of running a project, it's you get to a point where you don't need that person around every day. You don't need someone to go open the cabinets for you and cover the floors for you, or hang plastic, or do whatever. Whether that's you or somebody else that's a subcontractor, but you get that covered in one way, shape, or form, because you schedule for it, you allow for it, and you're not running around like an idiot, with a chicken with your head cut off. I think that was part of it too, is running the projects, taking the projects that I want and running them the way I want to run them and know how to run them, and not bend over backwards for every client that, or every potential client that calls you. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we could do that. And I'll just have one of my guys do it. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that was really interesting when you brought that up earlier and you said that you started to take projects that you necessarily would not have taken prior to having employees. And I think that's really interesting too. And a good point is you start making concessions for your employees because of your employees, just to keep them going or just to keep them busy, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, I think that's different for everybody, and it ebbs and flows, as we all know, with this industry. So when you're rocking and rolling, it's great. You take only the projects you want, but then when it slows down, you start taking projects that you shouldn't take for various reasons, and everyone's different. And you have less control over that when you have employees, in my opinion, I think, because of, as we said earlier, the added stress that comes with having employees just on the shoulders of, trying to make sure that you have enough projects for them and that kind of thing. We touched on earlier the hidden costs of having employees, the workers' comp, that you don't need workers' comp here in Washington. If you're a single owner, then you don't need to pay workers' comp. I know in Illinois you do, whether you're a single owner or not, but here in Washington you don't. But the added cost of bringing employees on now means workers' comp, and you have to file and get that all situated, and the added taxes for employee taxes. Something that I think no one really considers is retirement plans. If you are a single member, a single owner out there, and the best thing that you can probably do, in my opinion, is start a solo 401k for yourself. And I think that's the very first thing you should be doing. But the minute you have an employee, if you decide to hire an employee, you no longer could have that solo 401k. So you have to now convert that into or convert your retirement plan or system or whatever you're going to do now. You have to change that because now you're bringing on employees.
Right.
That's something that you need to consider. That's my biggest hurdle, honestly, is the solo 401k situation. But there's all kinds of little things like that no one really considers. They're just like, I need extra work, or I need an extra hand. We'll just run out and hire somebody. And then they get themselves in a pickle because they haven't thought about all these things, or they don't know it, so they don't do it. And then they do end up getting themselves in trouble later if something does happen, or they're not adequately covered, not to mention insurance and all that goes up because you have employees and so many things, right?
So many things.
Yeah.
Even the small nickel and dime stuff, where it's like, you're buying blades for their miter saw or their table saw. It's like, I can't ask them to buy a blade, $80 blade, and have them go trim out a 3,000 square foot house. I'm buying that. And you can obviously you roll all this into your costs when you're giving all your pricing and everything, but sometimes you don't account for all that little stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes you miss those little things, or or they just catch you by surprise too when you're trying to be a good boss. Like, I've had my guys bring up before, like, this project's pretty far from my house, and it's like, me being the smartass that I am, I'm like, I'm sorry, did I not get a project that was right around the corner from where you live? I apologize that I didn't meet your logistical needs, going to work. Like, one of the things I would never, ever said to my old boss, like, if we had a project downtown, okay, I'll be downtown. We had a project way up North Shore, okay, I'll be there. Out in the northwest suburbs, I'll be there. Okay, fine. I didn't question.
It was a different time.
The project where it was. Yeah.
It was a different time, buddy. Let's not even get into that, because
right. But you're throwing them a little bit of money for gas and that kind of stuff, right? So you're just the things you buy them lunch once in a while. You do this once in a while, and it's like
We used to do we used to call it a tool allowance. I think it was a tool allowance, something like that, where I'll reimburse you up to X dollar amount a month for tools. You just have to turn in your receipts for whatever it is, whether it's blades, like this is one way to do it, and this, is I'm not going to go and like supply you blade for every job, because not every job's going to require a new blade. So you just go out and buy yourself a new blade when you need a new blade. Like, it's simple as that. However, I realize that you're blowing through, things like blades and stuff that maybe I should help with, right? We just did an allowance, a tool allowance every month. You either use it or you lose it. It's you use it or lose it. So if you went out and bought a new tool that month, I would, sure, give me the receipt, and I don't care, because I've already planned on paying you, I don't know, whether it was $100 or $50 or $20, whatever it is a month, towards your tool allowance, and that, period, end of discussion. Not paying any more or any less, right? Or I would pay less, you use it or lose it kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's one way to do it. But these are the little things that you don't think of right away. And then you're like, oh, yeah. Like you said, I'm trying to be a good boss. Like, yeah, that makes sense. I probably should throw something in for that. And it's like all these nickel and dime things that really get you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So not an easy decision, but I think I talked to a number of other people before I made this decision, you being one of them. I talked to 2 other contractors. I talked to my plumber, talked to my electrician. I talked to quite a few people and got, varying opinions. The one guy I used to work with, who's a remodeling contractor like us, I worked with him years ago. He said, you are going to be so much happier and so much less stressed if you let them go.
Yeah.
And just the way he said that, I was just like, I think he's
yeah. It's like, I don't want everyone to think that we're completely against hiring people, but hiring employees, like I said, not at all.
5 years.
And it works.
I'm not against it.
Yeah. Every single situation and person is different.
Yeah.
So it could work. It could work for you, but there's a whole lot of different stress and different problems with just trade partners. That now you have a little less control, but you try to litigate that risk of control by finding that right trade partner and weeding out the ones that don't work with you well. And once you guys start working together and really understanding how each other works, you can start building this relationship. And after a couple projects, now you guys are really rocking and rolling. So there's
always a little bit of a learning curve to that, for sure.
Yeah. And then, for each trade partner, you just try to build that never ending relationship with your trade partners and hope that they last.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening. Todd, was there any other smashing hits that you might want to highlight?
No.
I
think we covered it.
You're not even a few days in. How do you feel already?
Better. I feel pretty good about it.
Okay,
I'm about a week in, and I had one of the guys that I talked to that I used to work with is just independent. He just does small jobs. He won't even remodel a kitchen on his own. He just likes small stuff, likes that little handyman jobs, but he's very capable. So when I talked to him, he said, just call me to help you. So I said, okay.
Yeah.
So I called him.
Just hire him.
I called him to help me finish a kitchen cabinet installation. And I was smiling ear to ear the whole day. I mean, we were just talking about old times. We were joking around the whole day, and he's capable, and I don't mean to just completely harp on the younger generation, but I can't help but notice these little things.
Yeah.
They seem to be incapable of talking and working simultaneously. It's either one or the other. So if they talk, they just stop working. They just put and it's just like, what do you do? What can you seriously not hold a conversation and do what your work and can continue to work? Neither one of them could. So it was just an odd thing. So just like, holy shit. So it's so nice to just work with someone who we're talking the whole time while we're working, and I don't have to explain anything to them. I don't have to go, you're going to do this? Cool. I'll do this. All right, cool. Meet you in the middle. Just had a great time.
Good. Sounds like the good old days when you and I used to work together. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
You just walk onto the other guy's project and just, yeah, okay, I'll do this, and bam.
Yep.
That's it. Just done. So
yeah,
it's very nice.
Cool. All right. Well, that's us. Todd decided that he was going to get rid of all of his employees, and he's going out on his own. And we'll check in on him, say in a couple months, and see if it was still a good decision.
Yeah, we can.
Radio kids, all right.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.